Okay, everybody. I believe we should be online completely. Okay, so what are we watching today? So virtually, what I'm looking for today is essentially a move based on what we've seen this morning. Watching for a move, likely up towards this trend line that we have here. Okay, this is going to be a divergence trend line here. I think we could pop an attempt at our 510 87 rejection here. I think it's a possibility. If we do break down below 508, okay, today's low, if we don't find that bounce like immediately, I do find us likely making our move down to about 504. One target would be 505.71. Additionally, I would look for us to potentially make that move down to about 504.23. Okay, um, those are going to be our two targets. And the reason why is if we take a look at our daily, if we take a look at the daily here, SPY's market here. We saw yesterday, here's the divergence line that I talked about. Look at it reject right there in combination with the 50, the dark purple line here. But today we opened over the top of the 20 and actually tested it, which I have it at 508.35. So you can see why I think it's more probable that we find ourselves pushing down and closing that gap around that 504.34. I think that is pretty likely, to be honest with you. Let's put it this way: if we break below today's low, I think that's exactly where we're headed. So if you're looking for spreads, a 505 is probably a pretty good little put to be looking for on the cheap. And that could come virtually at any point that you're up near that 510 range. You can look to essentially grab one of those on the cheap, maybe do a little lotto. Of course, it's not financial advice, just kind of telling you what is there. But we opened on top of the 20, okay? On top of the 20, and it's shown that it's got some strength. So, additionally to that, we did see some of the other market movers, kind of pop. We have Nvidia trying to make a run right now for about 900. I think it's probably going to get that. We'll see. Several times at this 880.20 line here. This is the daily. You can see how much it intersects here, the 880.20, and we've now taken over the top of it. So we'll see if it quickly pulls back to that 880.20 or it wants to make that move towards that 900. I think that 892, if we're overbought around that area, we need to look at that as a potential reversal area. So watch for 892 to be taken, 891.90, and then maybe a pullback from there. We'll just have to kind of see how that looks. Strong little sell here on SPY. But where I was going with this is essentially what we're seeing. This could be a liquidity pool right here, and then a run back down towards towards our 20 daily 20. So we may see this right here, grabbed it, and then we see it run for down here. And I'm telling you, if we break 508, okay, this is all still bullish right here. Okay, this is all still bullish right in this range. Let me change color up on this. This is all still bullish here until really we start seeing a breakdown of 508, which would be a subsidiary or I guess an average inside this box. This is going to be virtually like a pivot zone until we lose 508. The idea is that we are range bound in here. Okay, we're range bound with inside this orange box until proven otherwise. So I'm looking at it saying we're showing some strength, or at least we're looking potentially like some strength early. We have the 1 hour candle coming up on a close. We'll see how it does. Does it close above the daily 20 level, or does it close below it? I think that'll give us some insight on potentially where the day's going. But as far as right now, I'm leaning more on the bullish side because of the open, because the initial test, and we'll kind of see how it goes. So I had a spread down here. I went with some calls and some puts. Went more heavy on the calls down here, and then I went a little light on the puts, and then I added to it towards it up here for some spreads to see if we look to aim for our targets at 510. Additionally, I want to talk about yesterday. Yesterday, we saw multiple times kind of rejecting up in this 510 area, kind of where that daily 50 was kind of lying. They're kind of roping right now. Um, we saw multiple visits up in that area. I would not be surprised, okay, as you can see here, we have our weekly open, our previous weekly high right in this 510 area. I would not be surprised to see a sell, at least a scalp type of movement once we take this area here, okay? Once we take this high, I would not be surprised if we take this high. Let's put it this way. If we take this high, that we see one sell, one probably strong sell, and that would indicate that we've reached into our supply area up here, right? And so be cognizant of that. It might come in the form of this 510.35 range right here. It might come right after it takes this, okay? But either way, I think that's definitely a possibility, and probably a decent scalp, because we've got a 3-stack sell here from yesterday that would be wouldn't be surprising to me to see this thing try to make that push up, or even that we make that move up here, take these out, bounce off that trend, and then we kind of create a new range, right? We create a new range between this here. Say we push through that, we create a new range, and once it takes this, then it relieves, and then we're just kind of waiting on this trend line up until the meeting later this week. So it's definitely a possibility, but I am watching these zones here. These will be pretty strong. You can look at the previous weekly high here. Let's combine yesterday and today. Need to add a 2-day on here. Let's see if I can get down here. Okay. So if you take a look at our volume range here, clearly 510 right on the previous weekly high, shown the most volume. Okay, the most volume. Outside of that, it only gets a little heavier up here. We've been kind of choppy, or at least buying. This would be our demand zone down here, and we broke through that and then made a rally back at it yesterday. I think that was some options manipulation that we saw yesterday. We are seeing some things with Forex that are a little bit crazy in regards to the yen. So keep an eye on that. That's something you definitely need to take a look at. Speaking of, let's go ahead and take a look at a couple things. So TLT had a gap down. Okay, generally that would indicate to us that we're going to see the market pull back. 2-year, let's take a look at the 15-minute. 2-year, absolutely. Let's go to the 1 hour so you see a little bit better. 1 hour did push, and we saw that thing push for a new high as far as yields go in the 2-year. Push for a new high. The interesting thing is the 10-year, right? 10-year made a skyrocket last Thursday, and now it came back down and it's pushing up again. All to say that in combination with the dollar, which I've lined out this gray area here in the past, and that was just a heavy resistance. And we've kind of created this baseline. It looks like some type of continuation up. And I've talked about this before, where I see us making that push up here, trying to run for that 107.30. And if we do get like an event with the yen, then we'll probably be right back up here about this 112 to 114 area, and that will drag the market down. And that's kind of where I'm looking at. And I think something, even with the Bank of Japan over there trying to intervene with what's going on with their currency, they're still having issues. And so I'm kind of keeping an eye on this. It wouldn't surprise me to see this thing pull back. And if that is the case, that we came into this previous demand area, and we couldn't get past it, and it's going to come back down. It's going to retest this 104 area. And the likelihood that that happens, then we'll most likely see greetings. Man, I got a lot of chat. I didn't see. We'll most likely see this thing pull back, and we'll see the market kind of make a move. So seasonality wise, we generally do see. You think bond yields and stock prices are inverse? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So generally, what that is if you see bond yields rising, so that's essentially there's uncertainty in the market, and people would take their money out of equities and put it in a safer investment, and so that's generally what you would see. Yeah, an inverse correlation. Rarely do you see them both trending in the same direction, unless it's not, let's just say it's near the median or something like that. Then you could not use it. But if we're outside the median, then it's definitely going to work inverse. Yeah, Chris, I'm looking for that 480 test, but I do believe it's going to take some type of macro to create that type of look, to go look at that previous all-time high. I do think that's a possibility. Um, I do think that's a possibility. We're getting a little bit of a sell here. Let's take a look at it real quick. Probably what we're going to see here is we had another attempt on liquidity, but got sold on. So we're going to probably target this low here. Okay. So watch this low. And in addition, we talked about this. This is all bullish here. So until proven otherwise. So watch it target this low, and then we'll potentially see something like this. Make another run. We'll see. If not, we'll be targeting this low and then this target. But again, until we see this broken, we have to consider our range right now, our true range, virtually between this high and about 508. Okay. See if it turns around when we take 508.79, or if we're going to get a continuation to the downside. Let's take a look at RSI. It's almost created its cycle. Okay, almost created its cycle, in which case we've taken that low, and here we go. Let's see if we want to bounce. And we could chop today. We could just chop in this range and kind of play the liquidity game up and down, right? So it's definitely a possibility for us. Hey guys, do me a favor. There's 18 people on that I see right now. Do me a favor and go like the channel. Like the video. I'm trying to grow a little, I'm trying to grow some subscribers here. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay, so targeted this here, and we saw a big jump off of that, right? I talked about how this is going to be a demand area for today for an attempt to make that push up, because we saw strength on the dollar, or strength on the 20-day, the daily 20. The dollar, everything is all pushing. It's all pushing up. And so, we saw this morning, let me pull this up real quick, make sure there's no personal data. We saw this morning that employment costs are up. Okay, you can see right here that the employment cost is up by roughly 30%, and that's a pretty big deal when it comes to earnings, right? But this is all Q1, and people are reporting on that still with wins. So it's a shock value, like people, oh man, hey, what's going on? But this stuff has already been reported on most people's earnings. and we're seeing a lot of beats. The thing is that's interesting is this right here, our housing, right? Housing is up, um, and so that right there is cause for concern um, moving forward. Okay, so you're talking about the rate, the projected rate, and everything like that. Um, that is where that comes into play. I need to set some alerts here. Okay, so set an alert right here. Okay, so did exactly what we were talking about. We talked about it aiming for this here and then trying to make a run for back at this high. Um, based on what I'm seeing, harmonics there, scramble mess here. 15-minute has a pretty decent thing, but generally this harmonic would be really a lot nicer. Okay, we'd see this harmonic. Let me refresh this for you. Okay, we normally see this harmonic almost come down here, and then we'd see a run and then a breakthrough to create this type of look. Let's go. Let's go here, here. We break this, boom, make that push back up, create that cycle, and then we come back down and test this. That's generally what we'd see. So that might be, say, the push to 520 in this zone, and then we come back down in some capacity, probably test wherever that actual resistance is. But normally we see this come back down a little bit further. In fact, I would almost watch the 15-minute diversion, watching something like that, right? That's kind of what I'm looking for. Um, a lot of times we see these moves, and this was not super good looking. Let's just put it that way. 4 hours almost getting a little bit of a topping look. So if we get a push back down below this right here, so we'll set this up. Alert. You take a look at that's getting awfully close, but it is in the 4 hour. Okay. So can we be range bound today? Absolutely. Could burn us all out. Take a look at TRX5. Hold on 1 second. Doesn't like cats. All right, so it's aiming for a high up here. So we'll see if it kind of gets sold on around this 510 area, if this wants to continue pushing. Otherwise, we'll be aiming, we're going to aim for this top area here and consider this a supply area. So be careful if you're trying to chase this. There's no chasing. The idea here would have to be virtually that you're buying with the intention of looking for this to hold this low now. So it's not a terrible idea to look for some type of call on this little pullback right here, say right here, looking to hold this low, aiming for that. Okay, so that right there is a 2.5 risk to reward ratio. And I always tell everybody, you can look to shrink this as this gets in this area. You can look to buy, and that risk versus reward ratio shrinks, and so you can look for that for sure. To me, though, with these big resistance here, I would probably look to close right before that 510. That previous weekly high has been pretty strong, so even in that range, right? But you'd have to start this right here on this candle, on this full bullish candle. So break it down to this candle, come into this bullish candle here, and you're looking for that to hold and looking to push up. On the contrary, right, we've seen multiple times it come in this little supply area, and it's getting sold on right now. So it's giving us a little bit of information right now that this is getting sold on. If we break through this, then we'll definitely see an accelerated candle up into this resistance up here, because we're going to break through this supply. Let's set some alerts up on the day. Clear, all inactive. Oh, I deleted that 4-hour trigger. Okay, let's go look at the dollar real quick. Okay, so swiped all this right here. So what I'll do is I'll set an alert if we start seeing this come back down. So this right here could be the start for a push back up here. Yeah. Watch for that. I'll set an alert here. I'll set an alert. Let's see if I have any other alerts on here. Yes, I do. Let's pull this down here. 2-year US, 2-year. Let's see if it comes back down below this. If we see it drop below 5, then we need to be careful because it's probably going to push back down. All right, let's take a look at Tesla real quick. Yesterday, I called out in the chat that 198.26 was my sell, right, on the call. And we had this strong sell right here. And when we made this push here, I announced that I'm not waiting for 198.27 because that could have been an island reversal. Okay. And so I said, screw that, I'm out. Especially when we were getting this was right here in this one. So we had a bearish divergence, right? And I just said, I'm out right there. So, but it did make it to my target, got to my target at 198.26, sold down. I announced that it was going to aim for 194.70, 194.56 is what it was. Got close to it quickly from that, but did not touch it. Ultimately came back up and made that push through. So you probably would have made more money, depending on the contract, but probably would have made more money on this first one right here. Maybe. Depends all on the contract. So at this point, kind of just chopping, just playing some nonsense. But I think ultimately what it's trying to do right now is create and hold 184.52 for another run back up here at 195. So any break above 190 here is going to be a push to 195. Any break over 190 will be a push to 195. The 180 calls that I talked about in May 17th expiration absolutely went ape shit yesterday, and I didn't post them because I was doing some training again yesterday. So that's why it was mostly just in the sense of, 1 second. Mostly in the sense of just chat yesterday, but okay, taking a look at NVIDIA. We talked about how this had potential to, let me switch this out, to get hung up on 80-20, right? So we said, okay, came up here, I was trying for 890. Well, it didn't. It was coming down to confirm 880 already. So if we do see this break down below 880, to me, that's pretty bearish. I think we'd probably be looking for this thing to test the weekly open, lose weekly open, then we'll be running for 860s on Nvidia, and that will bring the market down. And Nvidia is kind of like the wind now. Of course, Apple's there, but it's definitely the wind. Okay, you think Fed rate tomorrow, but why falling every day? So tomorrow will not be the Fed decision, by the way. So you're going to have, let me pull this up. You're going to have the Fed's decision. Oh, it is Wednesday. Today's Tuesday. Duh. Yes. Fed interest rate decision is tomorrow. That's my bad. Will come at later in the day, right after a bunch of data comes out tomorrow. But the data is doesn't mean anything. In fact, I would say the data is manipulation in the morning. Let's take a look at SPY real quick. To me, like when we talked about this as a potential chop area, and that's kind of the feeling I'm getting today, right? Made its early moves, and then that was it. Okay, talked about this right here on Google earnings. Actually, I think it might have been in the previous live. We talked about how blocks played a role, and how somebody asked me how does that work, and I said, well, here's your blocks right here, and I said you would play this block with the extension here, with the idea that this is the high, and you'd see the extension from here. We were looking, at the time it was not, it was here, right? So we were looking for it to come up a little bit short of this, retest in that area, and it did. It got right in that area from that extension, which would have been at 168.69, but we were looking to trim up a little early. And you can see right here, people were eyeballing the same thing, look to grab that low, and they try to make that run right here, and then they ultimately got sold on again, and it made a little bit bigger push down. Now, Google, to me, after this open, everything else looks like a potential bullish move for 170. Okay, so the idea here now, so this hit, right? Get rid of this. The idea is kind of like what we're looking at, that it's right here on this low. I want to look at something real quick before I say this, because here's our break. Take a look at this. Did it touch it already? Yeah, it touched it, but it's kind of coming into it. So, yeah, not a great setup here. Not a great setup, but you can use this. I just almost looks like it wants to target this open, right? This open just went bananas right off the rip. Almost like it wants to target it. So I think I would probably feel more safe on a swipe. What do I mean by that? Kind of like what we were looking at earlier, looking for that to swipe. Keep that a low risk for you, and give it a little room to swipe it, and then look to run up from there. So, and more likely that it turns into something like this. We'll see. So Google hit on that one. SPY. Okay, SPY's getting a little bit of a push down, guys. Okay, so we're getting past our zone here. We're pushing down into our area that we could create some type of issue. Okay, watch this to, as far as structure goes, watch for it to take that and maybe find some buyers right down here in that demand, and look to try to turn this around. Oh man, okay, there we go. Let's see if it wants to continue going. But again, I talked about this. This is still bullish down here. Till we break 508, this is still bullish. Let's kind of look, see what this looks like on RSI. Yeah. Hmm. Weakness. Okay. So remember what we were talking about? NVIDIA kind of giving us a little insight here, that it came down, it lost on the 5-minute candle, it lost the weekly open. And I said, if it lost the weekly open, we'll probably be looking for 860s. And so right after I said that, then now we're pulling back into that area, and it's actually rejected off of that weekly open. Let's take a look at it. We'll see if it reclaims it. It's only been a minute, but that weekly open should be right here. Boom. Let's see if it kicks it back again. If it does, then we'll probably see another sell on it. But almost looks like a reversal candle set right here. Yeah, right. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see if it gets pulled back. Let's see if it gets pulled back. SPY did take the liquidity there. Okay. So the idea is it runs back up towards 509.56 now, holding this range. So this would be the 510 call down here. So you want to enter the 510 call. Price on it's $55. You look to enter that for that to run back up into this supply area. And you're looking to maintain this 507, this 508 area, this range here, right? And all we did, and it looks all scary and stuff, but all we did is revisit into our demand area. Looks scary. This is where they trap you, run it back up, run it back up, run that, or even, even run it up to the previous weekly high and a little bit of a squeeze, and then you'll see kind of what happens. So 510 call. The idea that it doesn't break below 508 here is a pretty decent risk versus reward. Starting to get a little bit of a harmonic on the 1 minute. But this will be quick, y'all. If it wants to break down below 508, this will be quick. You'll likely find a bounce at 507.22, but this would be really quick. Harmonics right here, shark harmonics, right? Let's see if it wants to hold it, if it wants to break down. Still 50 seconds on this candle. You can't gotta watch, see how it recovers. Why is it so important to hold 508? Well, we're starting to see right here on the daily 20s, this green line. It's at 508.35. We're starting to lose that on the daily. So now This is where people get worried, start selling. But we're talking about buying 5-10 calls because all we did is visit back into that demand area, and we're looking for an attempt back up at our supply here. And we did complete the shark harmonics, but we need a follow through. We need a strong candle here, or else you don't want no business of this. This is just going to be a kind of a bit of a chop. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so let's see what we're up on. 5-10 calls. Fucking $4 right now. Nothing. Okay, so we're getting a little bit of a chop. We'd like to see that thing come back up. Okay, the dollar is, let me take a look at this real quick. The dollar's pumping. Okay, so we got over the top of that. So that's why we're seeing a bit of a reaction from this, because we're seeing some bullishness come out of this dollar right now. Let's switch over. With that dollar making that move, I'm going to go ahead and exit this call here. Okay. I lost $4 and 4 contracts. Lost $1 contract. Can it still bounce higher? Sure, but with the dollar kind of zooming like that, I'm not interested. I'm in those 505 still. So we'll see if it wants to go. We'll see if it wants to go. And it works in the same way, right? So the dollar's getting back into its supply area. So will it turn back around? I have a thing with the dollar where virtually it's like a love hate. Well, see, here we go. We get the pop because they know that we're back in that supply area. But my deal was with Nvidia, I want to see this thing kind of hold this. It's trying, but it's that's some weakness there right off the 20, right off the 10 here. So we'll see if this thing wants to press down in the 60s, and that will drag the market down. Doesn't matter what the dollar does. Okay. Let's go look at my chat. I hadn't looked at my chat in a second. What about QQ? What's your opinion? It's MWT getting it interesting. On Divi, what are you thinking? Sorry if you already went over it. Okay, yeah, so I did go over it, brother. But what I was looking at is I was looking at it potentially. It was a nice little pop this morning, and a potential push up into that 107.25 area. But it's all based on like the yen right now. The yen is kind of destructing, and you know the Bank of Japan is trying to intervene with that, but what they're doing may or may not be enough. So we're looking at it as a potential second wave right here, y'all. Watching this candle set here, we'll see if it wants to. If we do see this thing kind of break down and get below this moving average, I would feel a lot better about this. But this is just your standard supply and demand right here, right now. I just hopped out of the call solely for the fact that I didn't like what the dollar was doing. But we called it. We said that don't be worried. I just didn't like what the dollar was doing. So I don't feel like the risk for reverse reward was there. Let me change these colors up so you can see it a little bit better, because I'm kind of stacking now. Bad color. Green. That's fine. Pie Hawker, thank you for the subscription. Appreciate it. Okay, so kind of came in this area, came back down, and we're seeing a bounce. We'll see this little area 508.79, but what's this look like to everybody trading on a longer time frame? Tried to push below the daily right now, could not push below the daily. So what is it? 508.35. Let's tag it on here. We virtually have it tagged. I'm just gonna go ahead and switch this. 508.35 is where that daily is, and you can see how it interacted with the price here, right? People that got below it, they were trying to sell on it, popped above it, but does not mean anything. Let's see how this responds on the low here. Bullish above this, right? We just saw a test, so to speak, at the daily 50 or daily 20. So now we might see bulls come right into it. Got a little sell on this. Let's see if this is a trap for bulls, but we'd see much more volume probably right here. So chances are we're probably revisiting supply. And just kind of stuck in that trap zone that we talked about. And this is going to hurt those people from the morning that got in the shorts, including myself, that were playing the spreads. This is going to hurt because it's going to come and it's going to milk its way back up in here, and it'll probably come right back down in this range. Yep. Okay, broke through it. Seeing accelerated buyers coming in, trying to come with it. We have a point of control today. Let's put it on the 1 day here. We have a point of control at 509.10. Okay, you can kind of see how this levels intervene today. 509.10. This is the date. This is our singular day here. 1 minute pullback candle. You can see the highest level of volume right here, 509.10. So, for example, if you thought this was going to be a trap on bulls, using the point of control here is a good area to say, all right, we had a lot of volume up here. We decided our distribution to the downside now. Your volume node, let's get rid of RSI. Your volume node on the low side is down here at 508. So some people might take a very low couple, like very low, let's just say they might do like a penny or two, and come and look for this thing to be just an absolute trap, and look to push this thing back down on this volume node down here and really into that 508.35. So we're starting to see that was where the volume was. Big buyer stepping up right below it. People are selling below. This is the daily. Daily 20 here at 508.35. Big buyers came up underneath it, trying to push this thing up. Point of control at 509.10. So had we stuck in, or if you did stick into the 510s, great job. You're up roughly about 20% right now. So I had an average of 56 there. Yep, about 30%. So nice little pop. Watch 509.10 to be potential little rejection. So if you want the quick scalp when it comes right into this 509.10, you say, all right, I'm out. So nice little 30% grab there, playing demand. Nothing special. Let me take a look at the cues for my boy Arian here. I don't look at the cues as much anymore, but there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong. Ooh, I got a Teams meeting. Okay. All right. So this is what I'm gonna do. This is nice harmonics here on the cues. This is really nice harmonics for a push up. We're seeing that NVIDIA did recapture its weekly open. So watch for that thing to retest 88.20. Okay, we'll watch this live. We're gonna see how it responds to 88.20 that's stacked on a fair value gap right there, right? I think that's a pretty strong little scalp right there. Okay, came right into our point of control that I had marked out with this arrow. Let's see if it gets sold on, retest this moving average. I think that's more likely that we see it retest this moving average now. We remove this low. We'll see. I'll set a pop on the candle here. Trying its best. Let's take a look at what the dollar's doing. Okay, came up into the supply area, sold, got bought on, and pushed up higher again. But again, struggling with that 106 area. Really struggling. Interesting. Struggling with it, but it, like I said, more than likely rolling back up into this supply area. Looks like a nice little double bottom, right, for a run up here at 510. So if you are in the 510 calls, you should trim here. Well, I'm not telling you what to do, but this would be the trim area, right? You're trimming, and then you're looking for, the runner or the last 20% of that position to make that push up towards 510. But again, the trim is here. Trim. So now that particular call out is up about 50%. The cues, just range bound. I mean, you've got clearly a big strong sell, came back down, starting to see a demand area kind of created, right, in this zone right here. And it's visited in this area and it keeps pressing. So it only makes sense to me that it looks like it wants to run back up towards 433. So watch for that gap to close. And we might see an extension today. We might, but I find it more likely that we're going to see it range bound. And whether that means, it's fine. It could take it. And then once it takes it, kind of turn over and kind of just trap itself here. Kind of trap itself. And I went over this on a video in the past, y'all. But the idea is that let me lock this up so you'll see everything I got going on. The idea here is that we talk about the 510 call, right? An entry, we called out the entry down here, right? Let's see. Even at the 506 mark or 54 mark, I meant. We called this entry. And that push up in that area where we talked about that is a 50% gain. You can see it right here, 50% gain, returning back into that supply area. Now, let's say that we hit the supply area and we look to kind of chop for an area or for a certain amount of time. Okay. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to talk about the punishment of theta. And so this thing, okay, came back into here, talked about the trim area, trim area, trim area. Let's say it rolls back down now, rolls back down, reconfirms itself, runs back up here, and then, let's just say that it looks something like this as far as time allotment. So about 30 minutes, making its way down, and then it comes back up, it would be quicker. So even if it was like right about here, okay, let's say we came back to our target right here at 509.57, right? Let's say it came back revisited. It takes a little bit for this thing to kind of fade. It pops, whatever. Comes back up. Let's say it fades like that, and it runs back at the target. The difference in this price here is probably well within, probably in this range right here. So the difference could be that it runs shorter, okay? So 36%, or you might get 67% from this. So you might have gained 15% from this, or you could look at this as it was a failure attempt again here, and we see this thing continue to go down. So that's why it's important to trim in these areas, because not only do you buy yourself time by locking some profits in when it pulls back, because it never just goes one direction, right? I mean, with the exception of yesterday's Tesla, right? Goodness, boy, this thing just went zing. Uh, but yeah, it never just goes one direction. It goes up, it comes down. It plays games with you, right? Just like we talked about today. It's just plays games. Be trapped. People think it's going to move, but no. It'll just say what'll happen is it'll just go and it'll take the high. It'll take the high and then reset, and it just keeps you trapped. They think it's a breakout. We're still a pretty heavy resistance area over here. So just because it breaks here, I do think that when we have days like this and we pick a direction, that is generally where we get some type of okay, I want to look at this real quick. Let's see if it gets that push down to 508.35 and watch how it interacts with this, because we lost the moving average here. Okay. Testing weekly open. We're in a fair value gap here. Or volume imbalance. See if it wants to retest 508.35. All right. Okay, so it's pushing down a little bit until proven otherwise. Okay, we have this orange here, this orange thing here. This is our range. Okay, until proven otherwise. It can play games. It can pop its head over and come back down and reset, or it can even look like it's gonna sell the fuck off, hit 508, and spring right over the top of that, and then try to sell back down into it. I think we're stuck I think we're stuck in this range today. I wouldn't do anything crazy. We talked about spreads early this morning, and that was before it kind of set up how it did. And we still may see some type of move, but the move would be virtually for me would be the breakdown. I don't think we're going to push up past this 510 area. I don't think that's going to be the case unless something happens. But I think we're more range bound here unless we lose this area here on the low side. If we do lose that side, there's a couple targets you need to be cognizant of. That's going to be 507.26. It's going to be the low of the day here at 505.70. But I think if it does make its way down there, I think you're looking for that 504.26 gap fill on the daily here, which would be right here. The actual gap closure would be 503.49. And let's look at this in a larger time frame. Yeah, gap closure at 503, right there at 503.29, I think is what I said. Yeah, and I think if it makes its way down in this range, we'll probably find that bounce. But seeing it before it happens type of deal, right? It almost looks bull flag or bear flaggish. Almost looks like it. Zoom out. But I talked about it yesterday. This all could be in the sense of a pattern here, right? Or we come here, we broke this, we came back down, reconfirmed, made that push up towards that 510, that 509 area, reconfirmed this break, right? Reconfirm this break, and then we make that move up to that 515 area, maybe retest this 510, and then make our way up to 520. This is all a possibility. That this is, until this is broken, really, right? Until this is broken, this is all a possibility, and it could create this wave lower and come off of our area, our target 504.26 for that move, that extension move from there to that 520. So if we do see this, it's probably not a terrible idea to say, all right, we got our move down here. I'm going to be looking for the couple week expiration 520s, or at least a week out 520s. Yeah, anyways, all right, I gotta hop off here. Hopefully this was informative. Hopefully you guys do me a favor and like the channel, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and we'll catch up on another stream. Appreciate you guys.